selling your house? Here's the one $500 decision that could save you 50 grand or more. My very first listing ever taught me this lesson. Really hot neighborhood, 10 offers on the property, and the first buyer, we go under contract with them. They send in a $50,000 repair request. Roof, the deck, they brought their contractor in, had radon, and then there was water spots, which to them equaled, now there's mold on the property. Now we need to have a mold specialist come in, and we need to get this remediated because now they think there is mold just from water spots, right? So possible mold. These very first buyers ended up canceling at 4:58 p.m. on the day of their due diligence. And mind you, I had so much anxiety that I went and actually puked in the toilet. They ended up canceling at 4:58 p.m. We could not come to a meeting of the minds. The seller was very upset, very defensive, did not like this big, giant $50,000 repair request from the buyer, was very offended by it. And the buyers were adamant that this place was a POS and they needed to redo everything. So lo and behold, we couldn't come to a meeting of the minds. And they canceled at 4:58 p.m. on the day of due diligence, 2 minutes before the actual deadline. Welcome to Utah. Hard deadlines, my friend. 5:00 p.m. We are a hard deadline state. They would have canceled at 5:01. Boom, they would have lost their earnest money, which is why you need a real estate agent to help guide you through these things. Side note. So why does this matter? Why am I telling you this? A pre-home inspection literally costs $500, maybe all the way up to $1,200, depending on how much you add on to get done. If you do a mold inspection before you list, if you do test for radon before you list, and how big is your property, right? The home that I have in Midway, we did a pre-home inspection. That home inspection was a lot of money because that property is 12,000 square feet. And then there's also a barn that's over 8,000 square feet. And these sellers did everything I asked of them. They fixed everything. And when we got that inspection report back, it had radon. So they had to go in and put a radon mitigation system in. Well, guess what? Now we don't have to fight with a buyer. When a buyer goes to do their inspection, it's like, oh, there's radon. And they're surprised that there's radon in the house. If radon comes back at a level 4, you have to mitigate. If you're a 4 and under, you are okay. It's technically safe levels. But if you're at a 4.1, buyers will use that against you and they'll be like, this is 4.1. We need a radon system in there. And I don't blame them, right? You don't want to mess with radon. And interestingly enough, radon is very, very high in the Heber Valley, insanely high. Every property in the Heber Valley or Midway, except for one, have all had radon, whether I was representing the buyer or the seller, which is kind of crazy. Even in new construction, there's been a lot of radon. Interestingly enough, some properties have come back with no radon because there was a basement, but then some properties had a crawl space and radon came back. So I don't really know, but get yourself the pre-home inspection. It gives you the power to fix issues before these buyers weaponize them against you. And depending on how nice your buyer is, you never know. Real life examples that I've been in the trenches with is I have an amazing radon company that I use over and over and over and over again. Shout out to SWAT Radon. They are the best. They can generally give me a super fast quote. They are generally very close to staying right on target with the budget. And so we had a property that came back with radon. Well, my quote from SWAT to represent the sellers was only $1,200. And guess what the buyer's quote was? $4,000. Same house. So you have a $1,200 radon estimate versus a $4,000 radon estimate. Which one do you want to be responsible for putting in? Probably you're going to go with the $1,200 one, right? Not the $4,000 one. But so this is my point. Buyers, they often inflate costs. They inflate estimates. And I know why. Because if there's a lot of stuff that comes back on that list, on that home inspection list, when you get a home inspection report back, everything in black is just kind of noticed, right? This is fine. This is fine. Everything in blue is sort of maintenance. This is sort of the age of the property. It's pretty typical when your house is 30 years old for this to happen, for there to be cracks in the concrete in the driveway, right? It comes back blue. Everything in red is more safety concern. That's roof, radon, water leaks, things like that, things that are a safety concern. So if you have a lot of little irritations on there, a lot of things in blue, and red that come back on that home inspection, guess what? A buyer might want to get a plumber in there to look at the water spots because they don't want to buy a house that has water damage or mold. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. But guess what? They cannot get that plumber into your house without your permission. Most plumbing companies won't even talk to a buyer's agent because they're like, oh, we need the seller's permission. Like, we need the seller to call us to have them come look at the property. So it makes it really difficult because it's hard to get accurate estimates of itemized things for buyers in a timely, short window of time. Most due diligence is like 10 days, right? 10 to 14 days. Well, if you have contractors that are really backed up, plumbers that are really backed up, please name me a contractor who was ever on time and stuck to their budget. Like zero. Maybe there's one in the world that exists, right? So estimates are all over the place. So buyers, when they're coming back, oh, we talked to this guy. This was just an estimate. They just estimated it, right? Because if they can't see it in person, they're giving you an estimate and they're quoting you high. And so you're going to get a very high amount back on that request. And they can't get roofers up there without your permission as a seller. So a pre-home inspection is leverage for you. You get that back. You choose what to fix. You disclose everything transparently. You take everything that you fixed and you make a binder and you show the buyer, hey buyer, it's like a house book. We're going to make a little house book and it's going to have all the receipts in there. So buyers are going to flip through that and go, oh my gosh, like it cost them $12,000 to do that. It cost them $9,000 to do that. It cost them $2,000 to do that. They see all the receipts. They see all the proof of everything that you did, the company that did it, the phone number of the company that did it, and the contractor. So they can call that contractor if they want to. Also, when they go and do their own home inspection, they can look at the seller's disclosures and say, hey, like there is radon in the property. Can you just make sure that it's working, right? You want to make sure it's working. Hey, these are the things that they did on their home inspection, but they're going to still probably go get their own, which is great. You want them to do that. You want them to get their own, but you've fixed majority of it, right? You've done the little honey-do list. You went down, you fixed all of it. So it's rock and roll, ready to go. This way you avoid being ambushed during due diligence right up at the last minute of that deadline, like what happened to me, and you don't have the buyer renegotiate the entire deal during due diligence. So if you're thinking about listing your home in the Park City or the surrounding areas, do not get blindsided. Order a pre-home inspection. It's the best $500 to $1,000 you've ever spent because it lets you take control of the process before a buyer tries to. Hey, my name is Nicole Bowdle. I'm a luxury property expert in the Park City area. If you're thinking about selling your home, my contact information is always dropped down in the description link down.